You guys really wanted us to go deep on Ezra. And, well, let me tell you, these texts are something else.
Yeah.
We're diving into Ezra and Nehemiah,
Oh, yeah.
the stories of the Jewish people returning to Jerusalem after exile in Babylon.
Right.
You've probably got the basic picture, I'm sure.
Right.
But trust me, there's so much more here than meets the eye.
Oh, yeah.
We're zeroing in on Ezra chapters 7 through 10.
Okay.
This is where Ezra himself arrives in Jerusalem,
Yeah.
ready to rebuild, but he's about to hit a snag.
Uh-oh.
A big one.
Okay.
It all comes down to religious purity, and it's gonna get intense.
What's wild is how the text goes out of its way to make Ezra a big deal.
Right away.
Right off the bat, yeah.
Like, it's not just, here's this guy.
Right.
They really build him up.
Yeah, they do.
So it's all about his lineage, right?
Lineage.
Like, his family tree is a highlight reel.
Exactly. His lineage goes all the way back to Aaron,
Wow.
the first high priest
Mm-hmm.
in ancient Israel. That's not just about family pride.
Right.
It's about religious authority,
Huh.
of course.
Being descended from Aaron means Ezra's practically royalty
Wow.
in the religious world. It gives him instant credibility.
Uh-huh.
People would have been way more likely to listen to him
Yeah.
because of it.
So it's like, don't question this guy. He's got the ultimate religious pedigree.
Exactly.
And it's not just who he's related to, right?
Right.
Ezra's a total scholar.
Oh, yeah. Total scholar.
The guy lives and breathes the law of Moses.
He's obsessed.
Totally.
It says he studied it, practiced it, taught it.
Wow.
The total package.
Yeah.
And this is crucial because it sets the stage for everything that's about to happen.
Okay.
He's coming to Jerusalem with a very specific agenda,
Uh-huh.
and he's not afraid to shake things up.
It's giving, buckle up Jerusalem. Ezra is here to lay down the law, literally.
Literally.
And he's not just rolling up solo.
Oh, no.
He's got some serious power backing him.
Oh, yeah. He's got the ultimate sponsor.
Oh.
King Artaxerxes of Persia himself.
Wow. Okay.
The king issues this decree.
Giving Ezra permission and resources to go back to Jerusalem.
Okay.
But it's not just a go ahead. It's
Yeah.
practically an endorsement.
Wait, so the king of Persia is all in on supporting the Jewish people and their God.
Yeah.
That's pretty huge coming from the most powerful empire in the world.
It is huge. Think about it.
Yeah.
This is the Persian Empire.
Mm,
Tolerant, multicultural.
right.
But they still have their own gods.
Yeah, of course.
For the king to not just allow the Jewish people to rebuild their temple,
Mhm.
but to actively support it,
That's a big deal.
it suggests a level of respect.
Yeah.
Maybe even fascination with the God of Israel.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So maybe the king's thinking, hey, a happy God means happy subjects.
Right.
Keep things stable in Jerusalem, keep things stable in the empire. It's
Yes.
all connected.
It is.
Smart.
And you have to wonder, what did Ezra do
Yeah.
or say to get the king on his side like that?
Yeah, what did he do?
We don't get all the details, but clearly he was a persuasive guy.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. He wasn't going alone.
Right, he had this whole crew with him.
Right.
Priests, Levites, important folks.
To the VIPs,
This wasn't just a casual road trip.
he was a mission.
It was a mission.
And these are key players.
Yeah.
Priests are essential for running the temple. The Levites are their assistants, musicians, teachers, keepers of tradition.
Wow.
It shows you this wasn't just about rebuilding the physical temple.
Right.
It was about reviving their entire way of life.
Their whole way of life.
Yeah.
And I love how Ezra goes out of his way to recruit even more Levites.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, anyone skilled in temple service,
Come on down.
come on down. Clearly, this worship stuff was serious business for him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He knew that to truly restore their religious life, they needed a solid foundation.
He did.
This wasn't just about nostalgia.
Right.
It was about reestablishing their connection to God
Mm-hmm.
through ritual and practice.
The ritual, yeah.
And before they even set out, Ezra takes this incredibly powerful action. It's like a window into their whole worldview.
You mean the fasting and prayer
Yeah.
at the River Haber, right?
Yeah.
It's a heavy moment.
Yeah, it is.
Ezra knows this journey is risky,
Uh-huh.
and he's placing all their trust in God's protection.
And he's so serious about it that he actually says he's ashamed to ask the king for soldiers.
I know.
It's like, we don't need an army. We've got God.
Right.
Talk
Yeah.
about faith.
It shows how deeply they believed that God was involved in their lives.
Yeah,
They weren't just praying for good luck.
right.
They were acknowledging that they were completely dependent on God
Yeah.
for their safety and success.
And guess what? Spoiler alert. They make it to Jerusalem safe and sound.
They do.
They even take this super detailed inventory of all the sacred stuff they brought with them.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking gold, silver, fancy utensils.
Wow.
It's like a religious treasure chest.
That inventory is symbolic, don't you think?
Oh, totally.
It's like they're saying, we're back and we're ready to reclaim our religious heritage.
I like that.
All those objects represent their connection to God, their history, and their identity.
It's like a huge exhale, right?
Yes.
They've been through so much exile, a long journey, and now finally they're home, ready to rebuild.
They made it.
You can practically feel the excitement, the hope for a fresh start.
Yeah.
But then the narrative takes this crazy turn,
Well,
and it's about to get really complicated.
here we go.
Okay, so we got this hopeful homecoming. The Israelites are back in Jerusalem, ready to rebuild their lives and their temple. But then, bam, this crisis hits, and it's all about intermarriage.
Oh, boy.
Now, to our modern ears, it might not sound like such a big deal,
Yeah.
but in their world, this was a huge, huge problem.
Oh, it was a total bombshell. Remember, the Israelites saw themselves as chosen by God.
Right.
Set apart with specific laws to follow, intermarriage wasn't just a personal choice.
Right.
It was a threat to their entire identity, a blurring of the lines between them and the other nations.
Wow.
It's like they've returned to their homeland only to find that their very essence is at risk.
So it's about way more than just who you're marrying. It's about preserving their heritage, their traditions, their whole sense of who they are in a world that could easily swallow them up.
You got it. And to really grasp how serious this was,
Yeah.
you have to see Ezra's reaction.
Yeah.
This wasn't a calm, collected leader saying, okay, folks, we need to have a chat about boundaries.
Right.
The text says he tore his clothes, pulled out his hair, and just sat there in stunned silence.
Oh, wow.
It's like their worst nightmare had come true.
Can you imagine the weight of that moment? They fought so hard to return to rebuild, and now they're facing this internal threat that could unravel everything. And it wasn't just a few isolated cases.
Right.
It was widespread. We're talking priests, Levites, community leaders.
Yeah.
The people you'd expect to uphold the law were the ones breaking it.
It's a crisis of leadership, a faith of identity, and it leads to one of the most powerful moments in the book,
Okay.
Ezra's prayer of confession.
This isn't just a quick, oops, sorry, God.
Oh no, this is raw emotion, a gut-wrenching outpouring of grief, humility, and a desperate plea for mercy.
So he's not just acknowledging their mess up, he's owning it, putting their entire history of disobedience on the table.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the past, right?
Right.
He's connecting it to their current situation, saying, look where we are because of our choices.
He's laying it all out there, holding nothing back. And what's striking is how he reminds God of all the times God has been merciful.
Despite.
Despite their failures, it's like he's saying, we don't deserve your forgiveness, but we're begging for it anyway.
Oh.
It's a powerful moment of vulnerability and repentance.
And then comes the call to action. Ezra doesn't just wallow in guilt.
Yeah.
He demands change separate from your foreign wives. Recommit to God, follow the law, no more messing around.
It's a radical proposition, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the upheaval. The family's torn apart, the social and personal consequences, and the text doesn't shy away from the messiness of it all.
It makes you wonder what was going through the minds of those who had married foreign women. Were they conflicted? Did they defend their choices? The text doesn't give us those personal stories.
Right.
But, there had to be some intense conversations happening.
Absolutely. And think about the wider community. There had to be differing opinions, heated debates, maybe even families divided over this issue. It wasn't a simple black and white situation.
So even in this moment of crisis, there wasn't complete unity.
Right.
Some people might have seen it as a necessary step to preserve their identity, while others might have felt like it was too harsh, too divisive.
It raises some really fascinating questions. Was it solely about religious purity? Were there also social and political factors at play? Was there pressure to create a more distinct identity within the Persian Empire?
Ooh, that's interesting.
These are the kinds of questions that historians and theologians continue to debate.
And let's not forget the practical challenges. Ezra's talking about undoing marriages, restructuring families, navigating the legal and social implications of all of this. It must have been incredibly complicated and messy.
Oh, the text mentions the rainy season, the sheer number of people involved.
Yeah.
It gives you a glimpse of the logistical nightmare they were facing.
A nightmare.
And yet, despite all the challenges, the text tells us that they took action.
They did.
Ezra appointed leaders to investigate to make sure things were done properly.
Yeah.
It was a systematic community-wide effort.
They were serious about this. It wasn't just talk, it was action. And then there's that list of names.
Yes.
It's this stark reminder of the human cost of this religious reform. We get the names of the men, including priests and Levites who had married foreign wives.
Right.
It's like looking at a historical record of broken families and shattered relationships.
And it makes you wonder, why include this list? Was it meant to shame these men to make an example of them? Or was it more about accountability, transparency, a way of documenting the painful choices that were made?
Maybe it's a way of acknowledging the complexity of this situation. It's like saying, these people were part of us, they made choices that had consequences, and we're not going to pretend it didn't happen.
It's a powerful reminder that history isn't just about abstract concepts and grand narratives. It's about real people grappling with real dilemmas. And sometimes those dilemmas lead to difficult, even heartbreaking choices.
So to recap, we've got this moment of intense crisis, a passionate call to action, a community wrestling with difficult choices, and a list of names that serves as a permanent record of the personal cost of religious reform. It's heavy stuff, and it leaves us with a lot to ponder. What stands out to you as the most important takeaway from all of this?
I think it's the realization that even with the best intentions, trying to enforce religious purity can have a ripple effect impacting individuals and families in ways that are hard to predict or control.
It's a reminder that history is rarely neat and tidy. It's messy, complicated, and full of unintended consequences. And speaking of messy and complicated, we've only just scratched the surface of this story. What happened after these dramatic events? Did these reforms actually stick?
That's a great question. And it takes us into the book of Nehemiah, which picks up the story a few years later. And let me tell you, things are about to get even more interesting.
Okay, so we left off with Ezra's dramatic push for religious purity. You know, those heart-wrenching separations and a whole lot of questions hanging in the air.
Right.
Did all this upheaval actually work? Did Ezra's reforms have staying power?
Well, that's where things get even more fascinating. Fast forward a few years.
Okay.
And enter Nehemiah.
Nehemiah, okay.
And another key figure in this saga of rebuilding Jerusalem.
Uh-huh.
The book of Nehemiah picks up the story, and guess what?
What?
Some of the old problems are back with a vengeance.
So all that drama, all those tough choices,
Yeah.
and it's like hitting the reset button. Human nature is stubborn, huh?
It seems some people slip back into old habits.
No.
And intermarriage is still causing tension.
Ugh, really?
Yeah. Nehemiah comes onto the scene, and he's facing a community that's lost some of its zeal.
Oh, wow.
Like the initial burst of enthusiasm has faded, and now they're dealing with the nitty-gritty reality of rebuilding a society.
So it's less about dramatic pronouncements and more about, okay, how do we actually live this out day after day? It's like the honeymoon phase is over, and now the real work begins.
Exactly. And Nehemiah realizes they need more than just a religious pep talk.
Mm-hmm.
They need a tangible symbol of their unity and strength. So he focuses on rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem.
Literally rebuilding the wall.
Literally rebuilding the walls.
That's such a powerful image. I mean, it's practical walls mean protection.
Right.
But it's also this huge metaphor for rebuilding their identity, their commitment to God, their sense of community. It's like saying we're drawing a line in the sand, both physically and spiritually.
It's brilliant, and just like Ezra, Nehemiah faces resistance.
Of course.
There are people inside the community who aren't happy. There are enemies outside who want to see them fail.
Yeah.
And it's a constant battle to keep the momentum going. But through it all, Nehemiah is relentless. He's got this unwavering faith, and he pushes forward with this monumental task of rebuilding the walls.
You can almost feel that energy, that determination in the text.
I know, it's incredible.
He's not just a leader, he's a builder, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
And I'm guessing those walls weren't just made of stone and mortar.
Right.
They were built with a whole lot of sweat, tears, and probably some arguments along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Rebuilding a city, especially after a period of exile and trauma, is a massive undertaking. You've got logistics resources, conflicting opinions. It's a miracle they pulled it off.
It is.
But what's remarkable is that through this shared struggle, they start to rediscover their unity, their sense of purpose. It's like those walls become a symbol of their resilience, their commitment to rebuilding their lives and their nation.
So in a way, Ezra's reforms laid the groundwork, the theoretical foundation, and then Nehemiah comes in with the concrete, the bricks and mortar to make it a reality. It's a powerful reminder that change is rarely a one-time event. It's an ongoing process that requires both vision and action, inspiration, and hard work.
And it also highlights the importance of strong leadership. Both Ezra and Nehemiah faced opposition and setbacks.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But they persevered because they believed in what they were doing. They had this unwavering faith and this ability to inspire others to join them in the hard work of rebuilding.
It's leadership by example, right? They're not just telling people what to do. They're out there getting their hands dirty, showing the community that this is a shared effort, a collective responsibility. And it makes you think about how we approach challenges in our own lives. Do we give up easily when things get tough? Or do we channel our inner Ezra and Nehemiah, roll up our sleeves, and get to work?
It's a question worth asking, and let's not forget the human cost of this whole rebuilding process.
Right.
We talked about those families affected by Ezra's decree on intermarriage, those separations, those broken relationships. What happened to them in the aftermath?
It's easy to get caught up in the grand narrative of rebuilding a nation,
Right.
but we can't lose sight of those individual stories, those ripples of pain and loss that spread through families and communities.
Exactly. The biblical text doesn't give us all the details.
Yeah.
But, there had to be lingering hurt, resentment, maybe even a sense of betrayal on both sides. Some families may have reconciled, found ways to bridge the divide,
Yeah.
while others might have remained fractured, permanently scarred by these events.
It's a reminder that even when pursuing worthy goals, we have to be mindful of the human impact. It's about finding that delicate balance between upholding our values and principles while also recognizing the complexities of human relationships and the messiness of real life.
And it challenges us to think about how we navigate those tensions in our own lives. How do we stay true to our beliefs without becoming rigid or judgmental? How do we build strong communities while also respecting individual choices?
It's a timeless struggle, isn't it? And that's what makes these ancient stories so relevant. They're not just historical accounts. They're reflections on the human condition, on the challenges of faith leadership and community building. They offer us glimpses of wisdom warnings from the past and insights that can guide us as we grapple with similar dilemmas in our own time.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive into Ezra and Nehemiah,
Yeah,
I think the key takeaway is this rebuilding is hard work.
it is.
Whether it's a nation, a community, our relationship, or even just our own lives, it takes time, effort, and a willingness to confront challenges head on.
And it's rarely a straight line from point A to point B.
Right.
There are setbacks, detours, moments of doubt and despair. But as Ezra and Nehemiah remind us, with faith, perseverance, and a commitment to something larger than ourselves, we can overcome those obstacles and create something lasting, something meaningful.
So the next time you're facing a challenge, whether it's big or small, remember those walls of Jerusalem. Remember the dedication of Ezra, the perseverance of Nehemiah, and the power of a community coming together to rebuild, to restore, to create a better future.
That's a powerful image to hold on to. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey through ancient texts, tough choices, and enduring lessons.
It's been a pleasure exploring these stories with you.
And until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep digging for those hidden gems of wisdom that history has to offer.
Welcome to Charlie and Mia's podcast. We're embarking on an exciting journey to read through the entire Bible in just 1 year. Every day, we dive into Scripture, exploring its meanings and how it applies to our lives today. We invite you to join us on this incredible adventure of learning and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode.